Hello, and welcome back to Business English. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on something incredibly useful: phrases and strategies to help you gain more thinking time during conversations. Let me pause here for a moment. No, that wasn't a mistake in editing. I did it deliberately to demonstrate how awkward it can feel when you pause mid-conversation without signaling why. When people don't know you're taking a moment to think, it creates unnecessary tension for everyone involved. So, what's the solution? Simple. Use strategies that not only give you more time to think, but also keep your audience engaged and comfortable. Today, we'll explore several strategies to help you. Pause effectively during conversations. Buy more time to gather your thoughts and make your responses clear and confident. Let's get started. Quick strategies to buy thinking time. Sometimes you just need a second or two to collect your thoughts. A great way to do this is by using simple fillers or sounds at the beginning of your sentence. These small additions signal that you're processing the conversation and preparing to respond. Here are a few examples. So, well, let's see how these can be used naturally in sentences. That's a really interesting question. That's a great idea. Let me think about that. So what you're saying is... Pause. Okay, I see your point. Well, I think we could approach this differently. These little phrases not only give you a moment to breathe, but also show that you're actively thinking about your response. Longer phrases for extra time. When a few seconds aren't enough, you can use slightly longer phrases that make it clear you're reflecting. Here are some examples. Let me think about that for a moment. I'll need to organize my thoughts on this. That's an interesting point. Give me a second to process it. For instance, let me think about that for a second. Okay, here's what I'd suggest. I'll need a moment to organize my thoughts. Now, here's an idea. These phrases help bridge the gap between the question and your response, keeping the conversation smooth and professional. Repeating or rephrasing the question. Repeating the question not only gives you more time to think, but also ensures that you've understood it correctly. It's a simple yet powerful technique. For example, how successful was our marketing campaign? Let me think about that. What steps can we take to increase sales next quarter? Good question. Let's look into that. You can also personalize the question by focusing on your perspective. What do I think about the campaign's success? Let's see. How would I increase sales next quarter? Well, here's my take. This rephrasing makes your response feel more personal and thoughtful while giving you the extra seconds you need. Using your tone and speed to gain time. Slowing down your speech is another subtle yet effective way to buy thinking time. When you speak more slowly, you naturally give yourself more moments to process your thoughts while signaling to your listener that you're carefully considering your response. Here's an example. At regular speed, our next steps could be to analyze the data and adjust accordingly. At a slower pace, our next steps could be to analyze the data and adjust accordingly. Notice the difference? The slower pace not only gives you more time, but also emphasizes that you're being thoughtful in your response. Combining strategies for maximum effect. For more complex questions, you might need to combine several strategies to create even more time to think. Let's see this in action. That's an excellent question. How can we improve sales next quarter? Let me think about that for a second. Okay, based on last quarter's data, here's what I'd suggest. By combining fillers, question repetition, and reflective phrases, let me think about that, you create a natural and seamless way to pause while preparing a thoughtful response. When it's best to pause completely. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, you might not have an immediate answer. In these situations, it's perfectly fine to admit it and promise to follow up later. For example, that's a great question. I don't have an answer right now, but let me get back to you after I've had time to think it through. This approach demonstrates honesty and professionalism, which your audience will always appreciate. Putting it all together. Now let's combine everything we've learned into a single example. Imagine you're asked a tricky question in a meeting. That's a very good question. How can we boost engagement for our new product? Let me organize my thoughts for a second. Okay, based on what we've seen so far, I think focusing on targeted social media campaigns could be a strong start. This response uses fillers, repetition, and reflective phrases to create a smooth, confident answer that gives you the time you need to think. Final thoughts. Using these strategies, you can handle even the trickiest conversations with confidence and ease. Practice them in your daily interactions, and over time, they'll become second nature. Remember, the goal is to strike a balance. Use these techniques when you genuinely need time to think, but don't overdo it. If used too frequently, it might come across as unpreparedness. Thank you for joining me today on Business English Complete. I'll see you in the next lesson, where we'll cover more tips and strategies to improve your communication skills.